All right, we're live. Welcome to the live stream. Hey, everybody. A lot to talk about today. Wasn't going to stream today, actually, but so much stuff is going on that I am going to do a stream. We'll talk about the State of the Union dust-up that's going on. I believe Nancy Pelosi will ultimately prevail if she wants to. We will talk about that in a little bit of detail. We are going to talk about Michael Cohen postponing basically indefinitely. I mean, basically what he's saying is if it's up to him, he's canceling his testimony to the House Oversight Committee, citing threats from Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump. We will talk about that. We could maybe talk about Venezuela if people want me to, although I will be dealing with that in more detail on tomorrow's show. Something about this cable is weird. And we can also talk about the story claiming Rudy Giuliani's drinking may actually be the explanation for his bizarre behavior during television interviews. All of those possible stories on the table. This is a live stream. If you've not watched the live streams before, the big difference with the other stuff we put up on YouTube is that they're live. You can use the super chat function. That's the $ at the bottom of the chat window to send comments, to ask questions. I will put them up on the screen. They will appear here, which is cool. You can start sending those now and I will get to them. And importantly, sign up for membership using the coupon codes in the description to get a live thank you. And importantly, I will also open up the phone lines if we get 10 new members during the live stream. It costs money to take phone calls, and that is why we usually have some kind of membership channel. Please don't troll the live chat. It's annoying. I only pay some attention to it. There are moderators who pay more attention to it than I do. And you can also use the join button below this video to become a YouTube channel member. So let's get right into it because there is so much going on. First story, Donald Trump's personal lawyer, former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, says he's not going to testify before the House Oversight Committee anymore. He's scheduled to go to prison on March 6th, I believe it is. Does this article mention it? Maybe further down. He was scheduled to testify before the House Oversight Committee on February 7th. We were looking forward to this for a number of different reasons, not so much because we were expecting bombshells about privileged information or things that are as yet unknown regarding the Trump-Russia probe, because I would guess that Cohen's attorneys would tell him it's not a good idea to get involved in that because that could be seen as trying to influence testimony or affecting an ongoing investigation. But if anyone has the goods on Trump, it's Michael Cohen. So I wanted to see him testify. Donald Trump did not want to see him testify. And now Cohen is saying he will postpone indefinitely that testimony because of threats from Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani to him and his family. Now, there are two possible interpretations to this. One is all this is referencing is Donald Trump saying that Trump and Giuliani talking about Cohen's father-in-law as a criminal and saying that he should be investigated. If that's what Cohen means, are those threats against Cohen and his family in the literal sense? I don't know. But if what is being pointed to here by Michael Cohen is something we've not yet learned about, threats that have not yet gone public, then that is a really, really big deal. And I hope that we will at some point figure out exactly what those threats are. Up at the beginning of the article, it does also mention what is expected to happen next with regard to Michael Cohen's testimony, because he was voluntarily going in. There is still the possibility of a subpoena. And as the CNN article states, Democrats are now considering whether to subpoena Cohen to compel his testimony before he reports to prison next month. At least one senior Democrat on the House Oversight Committee says he expects Chairman Elijah Cummings of Maryland to issue that subpoena. I hope that he does. And the United States of America is more than equipped to protect Michael Cohen and his family from any kind of physical danger. Now, if indeed there is anything to the allegations that Donald Trump is throwing around about Michael Cohen's father-in-law, that's a different story altogether. But remember, using the threat of investigations against Cohen to make it so that he doesn't testify would be witness tampering. Even if the threats are about a possible investigation into Cohen's father-in-law, that would be witness tampering and obstruction of justice. So I think no matter what the supposed threats are, I think no matter what Michael Cohen is afraid of, in terms of physical safety, his family is going to be okay. The government can protect them. And in terms of investigatory risk, that would be witness tampering and obstruction of justice by the president if what he is saying is implicitly or explicitly, if you testify, we will investigate your father-in-law for whatever they believe he may have done wrong. Lanny Davis, who interestingly is Michael Cohen's attorney now and is a big a longtime Clinton friend, says, due to ongoing threats against his family from President Trump and Mr. Giuliani as recently as this weekend, as well as Mr. Cohen's continued cooperation with ongoing investigations, by advice of counsel, Mr. Cohen's appearance will be postponed to a later date. Cohen thanks Chairman Cummings for allowing him to appear, adding, this is a time when Mr. Cohen had to put his family and their safety first. So big picture, I hope that he testifies. I hope that we ultimately do hear from Michael Cohen, because once again, this is a criminal enterprise that includes Donald Trump's personal life, Donald Trump's business life, and Donald Trump's campaign life. And if anyone is privy to the criminality within all of the under all of those umbrellas, it would indeed be Michael Cohen and possibly others as well. Thanks to Reldra for becoming a new member on YouTube. You can use that blue join button below our video. Not every channel has that. YouTube, including the David Pakman Show, in a very, very exciting beta test of YouTube membership. And Reldra is the newest member along those lines. Let's count that as one towards our goal of 10 new members to open up the phone lines and hear from people today. 3 ways that you can count towards that goal of 10. Become a member on our website at davidpakman.com/membership. Become a patron at patreon.com/davidpakmanshow. Or become a YouTube member by pressing the join button. Sorry, punched my mic there. Right below this video. All of those count, and I will open up the phone lines if we get to 10. Okay, let me briefly mention this. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, but I'll mention it just briefly. We've been trying to figure out, why is Rudy Giuliani's behavior on television so erratic? Saying that there was no collusion, then denying having denied that there was collusion. Saying that there is no way that Donald Trump would have told Michael Cohen to lie in his testimony to Congress, but then saying they may well have spoken, but somehow he knows, even though he doesn't know what was said, he knows that what was not said is that Trump definitely didn't tell Cohen to lie. Showing up on television and having argued time and again that Trump knew nothing and there were no payoffs to mistresses, and then saying, yeah, there were payoffs and they were completely legal. What difference does it make? All of this very strange behavior from Rudy Giuliani. We've been trying to figure out, is the guy just a bad lawyer? Is he experiencing some kind of cognitive issue? Is this some kind of very slick strategy to throw out every side of a story with the idea of confusing Trumpists and making it sort of impossible to know what is the truth? Because in the end, these aren't legal statements from Rudy Giuliani. He is a lawyer sort of in name only. He is really a PR misinformation guy for Donald Trump. Republican aides are saying that there's a much simpler explanation, and it's that Rudy Giuliani is regularly drinking alcohol before his appearances on television. Sometimes the simplest explanation is the correct one, a sort of an Occam's razor of stupidity. Trump's razor, I guess, is what we could call it. Multiple aides expressing that there is concern at the White House about particularly the evening appearances that Rudy Giuliani is doing. I haven't actually looked and kind of divided the appearances into evening and daytime. Maybe there's something to it. And when Rudy Giuliani was asked about his drinking last May, he said something along the lines of, I don't have a drinking problem, but sometimes I enjoy a drink with dinner. I like to drink, I think he said, when I smoke cigars. And he says that drinking is not a factor here. But that is what 3 different Republicans that spoke to the Associated Press are saying. They're saying it's just a drinking issue. That's it. And that explains everything that's going on with Rudy Giuliani. If that's the case, it's both sort of sad, but it also does explain a lot. It explains a lot about what we've been seeing. So we'll dig into that story in more detail tomorrow. And now I want to dig into the State of the Union situation. Okay, so let me set this up for you, and then we'll get to the New York Times article. Um, the State of the Union takes place yearly by tradition. And also by tradition, it takes place in the House of Representatives during a joint session, meaning that it's in the House of Representatives, which has room for all 435 members of the House and the 100 senators and the Joint Chiefs and the Supreme Court justices and some guests, because it's much bigger than the Senate. Okay. Um, Constitutionally, all the president has to do is from time to time issue a statement about the state of the union, the state of our nation. It says nothing about when it has to be. It says nothing about how frequently. And it certainly says nothing about the president having any kind of right to show up uninvited at the House of Representatives. The reason this invited versus uninvited thing is relevant is that normally it's a formality, but the Speaker of the House invites the president to come and brief both houses of Congress on what's going on. And when I say a formality, I mean not that it doesn't matter. The president must be invited. But if government's open and things are sort of normal, no matter what the party is of the person who's in the White House and the Speaker of the House, whether it's the same party or different parties, they issue this invitation. The difference right now is that we have a government shutdown, and Nancy Pelosi sent a letter to Donald Trump. Let me see if I can pull up the article here. I accidentally pulled up Super Chats. Sent a letter to Donald Trump saying, given the government shutdown, maybe we should reschedule. Donald Trump responded saying, no, everything's fine. There's no security concerns. I'm going to give the speech in the House of Representatives next Tuesday, January 29th, as originally planned. And Nancy Pelosi is just not having it. And she has now responded, as is being reported by the New York Times and numerous other media outlets. She has responded that Donald Trump's just not going to do it while we have a government shutdown. Let me see if I can find the exact quote. So as the New York Times article says, today, Trump initially sent a letter where he said he checked, there's no security concerns, and he's going to be able to do it. Nancy Pelosi fired back a letter saying, no, she's not going to pass a resolution authorizing him to show up there until the government is reopened, adding, again, I look forward to welcoming you to the House on a mutually agreeable date for this address when government has been reopened. I believe Nancy Pelosi is going to win this one, and I support her in what she is doing here. Nancy Pelosi is right that it is ultimately up to her to decide whether indeed the president is to be invited and is to give a speech before a joint session of the House and Senate, or whether he is not going to do that. And I don't know if Donald Trump has it in his mind that Secret Service can just overwhelm the Sergeant at Arms and Capitol House of Representatives security, congressional security, and force his way in there. I don't know if Trump imagines that if that were to be the case, that there would even be sort of cameras and a crowd set up, or how he imagines that it would work. But ultimately, this is Nancy Pelosi's call. And I think it is absolutely, I mean, listen, we know the State of the Union. Government has been shut down for a record amount of time. Trump is throwing a temper tantrum like a petulant child and holding all of government hostage over his border wall funding, including 800,000 government employees, millions of associated contractors, people waiting for different social welfare benefits. That's the State of the Union. And meanwhile, our allies are laughing at us and ignoring the United States when it comes to figuring out what to do in terms of the climate change circumstances in which we find ourselves and all sorts of other issues. That's the State of the Union. And I agree. Don't let Trump come in and use the State of the Union address and use Nancy Pelosi's invitation to effectively hold a build the wall rally, because that's what it would turn into. Okay. If Donald Trump does show up during a government shutdown, which is taking place because the money for the wall that Trump wants is not just being handed over to him, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a build the wall rally, and it'll be a disgusting joke. And I certainly have no interest in seeing that happen. if it does happen, I will cover it live, and we will do a live stream during the State of the Union or whatever else. The most likely scenario, if government remains closed, seems to be that Donald Trump would do the speech, but from a different venue, maybe from the Oval Office. I don't know. I can't see him submitting a report in writing. Number one, he doesn't really write. And number two, this guy is all about cameras and publicity, and he is going to be extraordinarily triggered if Nancy Pelosi doesn't allow him to do this. And I think he would see sending a written State of the Union address to the House and Senate as losing, and Trump doesn't want to lose. And that's why I think ultimately he is going to find some way to give a speech, although where it will happen and exactly when, I don't really know. Let's see anything else from the New York Times article here. Trump's announcement he would come to the Capitol despite concerns seemed meant to put the Democratic leadership on the spot. Republican leaders piled on. Retweet if you agree that the State of the Union should proceed as planned. Let's take a listen to this and see what this is all about.
Now more than ever, our country should see our government leaders in the same room working to make our future brighter. This resolution I'm about to sign would allow the State of the Union to go on as planned.
Okay, yeah, so total and complete loser and total publicity stunt. Before Ms. Pelosi's response, Democrat issued contradictory language on the invitation. Steny Hoyer appeared Tuesday on Fox News, asked if he would be willing to host the president. He said, sure. That led to speculation that he disagreed with Ms. Pelosi. But on Wednesday, Hoyer spoke to reporters and said the U.S. Capitol Police would be fully prepared to provide security if Trump does deliver the address. Nancy and I are on the same page. She didn't disinvite him. What she said was she thought it would be appropriate to choose a different date. He has not done so. But then it appears as though Nancy Pelosi is saying, no, it's simply not going to happen. So I'm curious what people think about this. Let me take a look at the chat, and then I'll get to some super chats. Keep calling it how it is. Trump on the hook for witness tampering. What do people think about the State of the Union? Donald will give us the state of the Russian Union. Trumpers are so triggered today. Do it at Mar-a-Lago. That's an idea. I heard Trump recently seen under the dome. Now he wants a dome. There's probably some double entendre there that I'm not familiar with. Speech at Senate chambers. Same cameras, same. That's interesting. Yeah, Republicans do control the Senate still. So conceivably, I guess it would be sort of unusual, but they could invite Donald Trump to give the speech in the Senate. That's definitely a possibility. Okay, let me get to some of the super chats here. And before I do that, I do want to, so we're looking, if we get 10 new members, I'll open up the phone lines at 617-830-4750. If people want me to take phone calls, usually people do, and we get a couple dozen people to call in. We do pay for that multi-phone line service. So I've set a target of 10 new supporters during the stream. Reldra has become a YouTube member. I have one other new member, Robert Lapel. Robert Lapel has become a member at davidpakman.com/membership. So that's 2, and we're looking for 10. I will remind you that there are 2 coupon codes currently available. We're mostly funded by membership on our website, okay? So if you can afford to make a contribution to the program, I'm asking you to do that. And 2019 is sort of a setup year for us to be ready for 2020 as a just massive, maybe the biggest year ever for the show. And so my priority for 2019 is to grow membership as much as possible. And I'm willing to discount membership in order to do that. So there's a coupon code, which is This Is 2020. And on the second page of the sign up process, if you type in This Is 2020, you will save 40% off of the membership of your choice. So whether it's a $6 a month membership or $120 a year membership, any membership you like, you can save 40% with the coupon code This Is 2020. And if we get 10 supporters, I will open up the phone lines today and you can call in and talk to me. Okay. Now, we also have one particular membership special, and that applies only to the $60 a year membership. So you switch the tab to yearly and hit the sign up button. And then the coupon code you enter is 2019. Okay. 2019. If you do that, you will get a yearly membership for $20.19. Okay, that's like $1 something a month. 95% of our audience can afford $1 something a month. If you can't, don't do it. I'm still doing the show for you. All of our content exists for everybody. But if you can afford $1 something a month, do the right thing. It'll feel good. I know you will feel good about it. I will also thank you on the stream, and we will get to open up the phone lines. The coupon code is 2019, $20.19, and you can keep that rate for as long as you want. Keep it 10 years if you want. No problem whatsoever. Joshua Carr, who is what we call a David Pakman Show triple threat. Joshua Carr is a YouTube contributor, a David Pakman Show member, and a David Pakman Show patron. And he is in there with the super chats. Joshua Carr with a 10 British pound super chat says, due to confirmation bias, do you expect lack of impeachment as something that would galvanize Trump's base for 2020? As we know, all of his shenanigans don't seem to affect his base whatsoever. Yeah, so you're right, Joshua, in that if Trump is not impeached, and that's the most likely scenario, and by impeached, I mean removed. I know that impeached doesn't actually mean removed. Impeached means the House starts impeachment. The Senate then has to decide whether to remove Donald Trump or not. But colloquially, people often say impeachment is the removal. The most likely scenario is that Donald Trump is not going to be removed from office before 2020. He's going to have to be voted out. Trumpists will see that as a reason to support Trump. They'll say the biggest, most biased investigation witch hunt against Trump, media, the FBI, everybody against Trump, and still they couldn't get him. My support for him is redoubled. The thing is, it's not going to matter because they're voting for him anyway. I mean, the cognitive dissonance that the average Trumpist experiences is such that whether Trump is or isn't impeached, they are voting for Trump. And this is why I've been pleading, imploring people since basically the day Trump was inaugurated. We are not going to win in 2020 by arguing with Trumpists and changing their minds. I mean, it's just not the way we're going to win in 2020. Half the country doesn't vote. We are going to win by getting people to vote. Okay. The new activists that were activated and galvanized by the Trump presidency, if they all get out and vote in 2020, Trump's done. Are they going to do that? I don't know. Young people have a long track record of not doing a lot of voting relative to other groups. Anytime that someone has not voted before, that is an indicator that they may not vote next time. Now, of course, if you weren't old enough to vote in 2016 and you will be in 2020, that's different. But when you create a likely voter model, unlike with investments, past performance is indicative of future results. People that regularly have voted in the past are more likely to vote in the future, and young people are often not on the correct side of that. So my advice is don't waste your time arguing with Trumpists. If you're having some fun on Facebook or Twitter, if you enjoy the art of it, have at it. But as an electoral strategy, it's about get out the vote when half the country doesn't vote. You know, Trumpists call into my show all the time. You could probably realize from that they are not easily going to have their minds changed, particularly because this kind of you bought it, you own it mentality, they want to save face, and they are likely to vote for Trump's reelection in 2020. So it's got to be a voter turnout thing, 100%, no question about it. Let me say thanks to Mark Moyer, who is the third new member during today's live stream. We had Reldra, and we had the other new member that I mentioned, and now we also have Mark Moyer and Annalisa Chavira. Annalisa Chavira has signed up, taking advantage of that just massive membership special. Really, really appreciate that. The membership special with the coupon code 2019 drops a $60 membership to $20.19. We do about 100 videos a month. And with the coupon code 2019, you're basically talking about a penny and a half per video. Okay, a video where we are doing research, on-screen production, editing, distribution to 200 radio and television stations and YouTube and the podcast, a penny and a half, okay, with the 2019 discount code. And almost everyone in our audience can afford that. So thank you to Annalisa Chavira. And also thanks to Gabriel Harris, who has just signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. Gabriel Harris is number 4. That makes 4 of 10 new members during the live stream. 40% of the way there. When we get to 10, I'll open the phones and take call after call for a while. It is my turn to make dinner tonight, so I can't be here all night. But if we get 6 more members, I will open up the phone lines. And actually, it's 5 more because Holly Aguilar has just signed up using the coupon code 2019 at davidpakman.com/membership. Holly, thank you very much. Appreciate that. 5 more, and I will open up the phone lines. Harvey with 2 R's sends a $5 super chat. What is the purpose of listing job government qualifications if people like Trump's children and friends can be hired with no qualified skills? I'm guessing you mean what's the purpose of listing government job qualifications? Yeah, I mean, it's a completely fair question. We have nepotism. Nepotism incarnate is, I guess, what we would call the current administration. We would still like to sort of believe that credentials matter and experience matters, but when you've got Ivanka Trump filling in for former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson in, was it Korea maybe? And all of the other stuff, it's extraordinarily depressing. Cody Steckman has signed up for YouTube membership, who is number 6 of 10 today. We are 60% of the way to me opening up the phone lines and hearing from folks. 6 S's, not sure how to pronounce that, sends a $6.66 super chat. Stop wearing suits. Sweaters are a better look for you. That's something to think about. I think the suit is it's much more, it's more professional. And, people already write in all the time saying, David, you look 17 and you seem like a little kid and you're not credible and all that stuff. I think wearing a suit jacket helps a little bit. Although at this point, being almost in my mid-30s, I should probably just be. Okay, I just got a message that we had a bit of an interruption there in the stream. Did anybody else see the stream interrupted? Show has been hacked. Some people are saying that. OBS, which is what I use for the live streams, sent me a message saying that the stream was interrupted but is now back. Crashed, back, red alert, yes, FFF, interrupted, back. Okay, I think we're back. I think we're back on board. Good. Okay, couple other new members to mention. Kurt Hobbs is 7 of 10. Jessica McCabe is 8 of 10, and Steve Denning is 9 of 10. We're almost there. We may get more phone calls today and more audience participation than we've had in a long time. People loving the coupon code 2019, which drops a $60 membership to just $20.19. We're 90% of the way there, okay? So if you want the phone lines opened up, just one more person using that coupon code or not. Really, it's up to you how you sign up. Patreon, YouTube membership, website membership. We are getting dangerously close to opening up the phone lines. And I really appreciate that. Okay, few other things to mention. Actually, let me just check in on what's going on in the regular chat, because people seem to be saying a lot of stuff there. People saying the stream is down again. I'm not seeing the stream is down. The stream seems to be completely fine. Live stream stopped. It all seems to be fine on my end. Back, it's gone. Switch your ISP. We have fiber with a 900 megabit upload, and it works really well. Honestly, we've had very, very few problems. So I don't think we're in trouble. I think that we're going to do just fine. Okay, Isabella M is the latest YouTube member, and Kathy Sackstetter has signed up on our website. So that's 11. By all means, don't stop signing up. But I will, as promised, if anything, I tell you the truth. When I tell you I'm going to open up the phone lines, I open up the phone lines. Let me get that set up here, and we will take some phone calls from the audience and see what's going on. The phone number is 617-830-4750. 617-830-4750 is the number, and we will soon be hearing from folks if they want to call in. Will I accept calls from regular callers tonight? I don't know. I don't know about that. I like to give new people a chance. Um, we'll see. It depends how many people are interested in having their voices heard today. 617-830-4750. I will momentarily go to live calls. Let me just get all set up for it here. Got to get all my screens properly set up. In the meantime, a couple of other super chats here. Liban says, what did you think of Bari Weiss on Rogan? Didn't see it. Didn't see it. Gabe from Utah, $2 blue. Viva Argentina. Yes, thank you. $2 in Argentina now is something like, I think, 76 Argentinian pesos. They're having all sorts of currency problems down there. Okay, let me go to the phones. I'll keep super chats up and answer questions there as they come in. Let's go first to our caller from Skype. Caller from Skype, go ahead.
It's me. Hey, David, this is Miles from Arizona. I have a question about the Mueller disputing the whole BuzzFeed article.
Yep.
Why do you think they disputed that article? Like, because I read on Vox, and actually, even Fox News said that crazy Rudy Giuliani said that they talked to Mueller's team, which to me thinks, did Rudy Giuliani or maybe even Matthew Whitaker, was he pressured into discrediting the BuzzFeed article? Like, why do you think the BuzzFeed article was discredited?
I don't know. To be very, very clear, the BuzzFeed article was not discredited in any general sense, right? The statement
let me be more specific.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'll just clarify, Miles, and then we'll continue with the analysis. Mueller's spokesperson put out a statement saying that some specific testimony that the article asserted was made to the special counsel's office was not accurately described, and some of the characterizations were not accurate. That could simply mean that it's not testimony that was made to the special counsel's office and it was made to the Southern District of New York, for example, which would merely discredit the venue, but it would not go against the underlying assertions. So, to say that the article was discredited, for me, when both Rudy Giuliani and a White House spokesperson both refuse to completely deny that the story is accurate, that to me is the biggest indicator that it probably is, at least in spirit, the accurate representation of what happened.
Yeah, because again, I'm no Russia denier. I support Mueller. I want to believe that the article was true, but just when Mueller comes out and says it's not accurate, then I'm suddenly scratching my head and kind of wondering, well, was this a situation where they might have messed up a little?
It seems as though, when the article had a ton of stuff in it and the statement from Mueller's office was very, very narrow. So I think it's important when lawyers put out such narrowly worded statements, only read into it what they're actually saying. All right, Miles, I got to run. I've got a ton of people holding here. Great to hear from you again, though. Let's go to the 703 area code.
Hey, David.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking at some polls about Trump's approval rating, and one of them by NPR and PBS NewsHour showed that in the last week that Trump's approval rating with Latinos went up by 19% to 50%, his job approval.
Which poll is this?
It's a NPR, PBS NewsHour Marist poll.
NPR, PBS, Marist, Trump. Let me look at that.
Yeah, it was kind of strange because, he literally just talked the whole week about the border wall. So I was wondering what made his approval jump that much with Hispanics in the last week.
Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to pull it up right now. I've seen this poll. This poll is mostly terrible news for Trump. And it's interesting that the only thing in it that could even be argued to be good for Trump is this increased approval with the Latino population. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why polling the American Latino population is very, very difficult. And we don't need to go into the full merits of that right now. But that poll is mostly bad news for Trump. And the one thing that he's claiming as positive is dubious at best. So, I mean, listen, if he believes the poll, then most of it is bad news for him. So I mean, if that's a poll that he trusts, I would be concerned because it's mostly bad news.
Okay, yeah, because he tweeted about it, and then I thought it was a fake poll because he usually just cites some random stats, but I looked at it and it was actually real. So
the
I
poll
was
is
just
real. I
wondering
think
about
we've got to
that.
kind of
Yeah.
understand some of the difficulties of polling Latinos and the fact that the poll basically is bad news for him.
All right, thanks, David.
Okay, thanks very much. Let me get to a couple of other calls momentarily, but first let me thank Joseph Taverna, who has signed up at davidpakman.com/membership, supporting the show with a membership. Thank you. Please keep signing up. Stephen Brent is a new YouTube member. Thank you, Stephen. Alexander Reed with a 50 Norwegian kroner super chat. Can the shutdown end or stop the Mueller-Russia investigation? I see the headline, courts will run out of money by Friday, including Mueller's grand jury. I've read this idea before, but from the legal opinions I've looked at so far, no, the shutdown is not going to stop the Mueller investigation. Mavis Lavis with a $2 super chat. What's for dinner tonight? Making salmon tonight, or salmon as I like to call it. Should be quite a dish. Frenic32 says, bring back the David Pakman cooking show. Yeah, there's a video of me making Spanish tortilla up on YouTube, which you can check out. Maybe something I would consider bringing back. We'll see. Joey Tech Talk says, hi, David. I didn't end up homeless. And the reason I was about to be last time I did this wasn't due to finances, but other reasons. Okay, Joey, with peace and love, I don't remember the reference. We get a lot of super chats and calls and stuff, but obviously I'm glad you're not ending up homeless. I would not want that. Let's go to the 814 area code. Caller from 814. What's going on?
Hello, David.
Hey.
This is John from Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, just south of Erie, PA.
Very nice.
I have a prediction. I'm feeling kind of Nostradamus-esque right now.
Okay.
And then a question for you. My prediction is that since he will not be able to deliver his State of the Union speech in Congress, that Trump's team right now is working on somewhere he can go to one of his campaign type stops and deliver his speech in front of a crowd of acolytes. And my question is, now, obviously he's not going to deliver the speech in Congress. Nancy Pelosi is not going to change her mind short of the government being open before Tuesday. If he does deliver it in a campaign type setting, one of those rallies, or from the White House, will all the networks cover it? Or
yes, they
are they obligated?
They're not. I don't think they're obligated to, but they will cover it. That's for sure. So I think it would be, I don't think it's that outlandish to think Trump will literally turn the State of the Union into a rally, as you're suggesting. But I think if he gives a speech which is at least nominally titled the State of the Union, even if it's not at the House of Representatives, I think networks will absolutely cover it. And I would as well, by the way, because I'd want to hear what he says.
Well, yeah, I mean, and as much as I hate listening to him, I would watch myself even with that question. Hey, the last caller. What do you make of the fact that here, and of course, many of Latino Americans aren't people that that didn't come here, that they were born here and second, third generation here. But what do you make of the fact that he is realizing an increase in support from Latinos, when it's couched around this issue of a border wall and everything? I'm perplexed by that.
I am not yet convinced that he really is seeing a surge of support from Latinos. Latinos are overwhelmingly liberal, and other than Cubans, And it's notoriously difficult to poll Latinos for a number of reasons. So let's wait until we get more polling about Latino support for Trump before we start figuring out why they're supporting him in higher numbers. Let's first establish that they are.
All right. Well, hey, thanks, David.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Great to hear from you. Okay, let me get to a couple of other super chats and then we'll stick with the phones. Jay Lynch says, your thoughts on the IRA, viewer from Ireland. Jay, that is one of the geopolitical issues I know the least about. And I just don't feel qualified to really say much about the IRA, unless you're talking about IRA retirement accounts, in which case I could say a lot. Horror fan for life says, huge fan, debate fake news Hannity, please. I don't think Hannity's interested in debating me. Also with a follow-up, P.S. Are you a horror film fan or a fan of the genre? I don't really watch horror films. No, it's not. I could probably count on two fingers the number of actual horror films that I've watched. Let's go to a caller from what I think is Country Code 49. Country Code 49, does that ring a bell?
Hello? Yes?
Yeah, who's this?
Hello?
Yes.
I'm Marcello. I'm calling from Germany.
Oh, hey, Marcelo.
I'm a very, very big fan of the show.
Thank you.
Nice to call in. And I was wondered if you could make a segment or if you could talk about or what your thoughts are about the decline of the social democratic parties in Europe, especially the European Union. For example, the pacification, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've actually been following the decline of some of the social democratic parties, not in Europe in general, but in some specific countries. And it's an interesting phenomenon. And I wonder, I mean, you might know more about this than I do. Is there actually a decline in the ideology that they represent, or is it merely that the parties themselves are what's falling out of favor, but the ideas, other than, of course, this kind of nationalist slide that we've seen, is it that the ideas are becoming more integrated into more mainstream leftism in Europe, and the social democratic parties aren't the only place where you can get those positions? Is that a possibility?
I do think it's a combination of both, actually. If you think of Great Britain with New Labour, and we had something similar in Germany as well, with when Gerhard Schröder was Chancellor, he was in the Social Democratic Party of Germany. And I think that was a reason why many people lost confidence in both the social democratic parties as such, but also the ideology of social democracy and progressivism as a political ideal. And I'm a social democrat myself, and I'm very concerned about this decline, which is also, I think it is connected with the rise of the right-wing and right populist parties.
The only thing about that, is that makes me think about that is, if you are a social democrat, you're not very likely to go to like a right-wing nationalist party. You might become more centrist, but it's such a wild swing that I hesitate to say that that's one of the reasons. Although, I mean, the nationalism has gone up and the social democracy has gone down, so the numbers are sort of there.
Well, I don't think, I think it's more of a gradual process and not abruptly changing. For example, we have, other than the social, I think some former social democrats or which are center left also become more left, and others become more centrist or even right wing. So I think the social democrats are losing traction also in other countries as well. For example, in Italy, I'm also half Italian as well. In Italy, the social democrats have lost many of their votes to the Five-Star Movement, which is populist in nature. They're so incredibly populist that this overrides any of what could be seen as an ideology of right wing or left wing or so. So, for example, they say they are anti-immigration because that's what many people like to hear, but they also say they're for environmentalism, which is more of a left-wing thing, and they are against internationalism, in a way that they do not support the European Union, but they want to the support of the European Union because they get money from the European Union, and it doesn't make any sense at all. But it speaks to the people, and that's why they are very popular. And
Well, let me look into it more and then follow up. I appreciate the call, Marcello. Very, very great to hear from people in Germany. Appreciate it. Before I get back to the phones, a couple of other super chats here to address. Matthew Long says, why do you never talk about your personal life? I thought that I did. I mean, maybe it's more on the bonus show, which all members and patrons would have access to, so keep signing up. But I thought I did. What do you want to know? Maybe send a super chat with a question. Lou Guy says, does Trump reflect American culture value system? Well, America is at least two distinct cultures and value systems. And according to some demographers and sociologists, there are anywhere from 9 to 11 sort of distinct cultures in the United States regionally. So I think the answer is certainly not all of it. But there are people whose ideology is basically whatever will get an ostensible right winger elected, and Trump did what he had to do, and they voted for him. So he certainly represents that faction of American society. Let's go to the 720 area code. We are taking calls at 617-830-4750. If you're looking for the number, it is 617-830-4750. Caller from 720. What's going on? 720. If you've muted yourself while you were waiting, maybe unmute because we can't hear you.
Hello?
There you
David?
are. Yeah.
Hey, I was wondering, since you've been talking about how we could get, progressives to come out and vote Trump out.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what's your position on compulsory voting or mandatory voting?
I'm very mixed on it because my home country of Argentina has it and has, I think it's like a 96 or 98% voter turnout. And there are a lot of positive effects of having a huge portion of the population participate. But the question is, do you get all of those effects if voting is mandatory rather than people voting because they want to? So I've actually not taken a position on compulsory voting. I don't have any problem with it legally. I don't have any problem with it morally or ethically. I think it's something that some countries say that's how they're doing it. But I'm not sure actually whether if you said, David, you can now pick, is voting mandatory in the U.S. or does it remain optional? Which do you do? I'm not sure.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. No problem. Yeah, I should take a position on that, shouldn't I? Sinister Minister sends a $2 super chat. Fool in the Rain, one of my favorite Led Zeppelin songs. David, I love that you're doing more live chats this year. Keep it up. I will for as long as people want them. Dave, do you think AOC's Twitch stream appearance is in any way a game changer in terms of political public outreach? Yeah, I heard she appeared on a stream that was raising money for, I think it was trans rights. Is it a game changer? When she did her mac and cheese on Instagram thing, a couple months later, Elizabeth Warren had a beer on Instagram Live. So maybe it will be a game changer. Who am I to say it won't be? Let's go to the 773 area code. Caller from 773. Go ahead.
Hey, David, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Cool. My name's Luke. I'm calling from Chicago. I've been listening to you for a couple of years. First time calling in.
Cool.
And I was just calling because earlier today when Nancy Pelosi pretty much, just disinvited the president for the State of the Union, after she did that, I watched his sort of response on TV, and then he answered questions from reporters. But his response was one lie from beginning to end, just lie. He's just angry. And I think something that people don't really think about is that there's a very real psychological aspect to this guy. He's a malignant narcissist. He lies and gaslights, and it's textbook. So you have to almost separate his behavior from his position and policies. When he's tweeting like that and lying like that, he's simply broadcasting his pathology. It's not real. It's just anger. It almost, if it didn't have words, if he was just shouting or growling or something, it would be really the same in essence, if you think about it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's just not really having a downside for him in the sense that his supporters love it, or at least they're not dissuaded by it. And, if you try to explain to them that Donald Trump's behavior is that of a significantly mentally disturbed person who needs help, they're not going to hear it. So I think that he's doing what he feels like doing. He's not really suffering from it in terms of his base. So why not continue?
Exactly. And one other question. What do you think about the Michael Cohen backing out of his testimony? I mean, how is what Trump and Giuliani have done not on its face maybe witness tampering, but certainly obstructing justice? It just,
Yeah,
some
I
of the
believe
things
that
they
if,
do
if
are
it's
so obvious.
true, if it's true, it is both of those things. And we opened
Yeah.
up the stream with that, so I won't redo my commentary now. But you can go
That's
back
fine.
and
That's
watch
fine.
the
I was
archive
watching.
and check it out. Yeah. Thank you so much
Thanks,
for the
David.
call. Really appreciate it. Great to hear from you. Horror Fan for Life sends a super chat asking, how do we explain to right wingers that the old Democrats were basically the conservatives of today? They just switched, drives me nuts. P.S. Lock them up. Yeah, there was a party realignment, but it's actually more complicated than that. And I saw that right wing guy who I think is Koch funded, Charlie Cork, I think his name is. I'm kidding. And he was talking about something that clearly ignored the party realignment, and I don't know if they play dumb with that or if they genuinely don't get it. Daniel Lapel says, "What we know you're supportive of the gay community. Do you have any gay friends or family?" I have many gay friends, and I have. Let's see, I've got a cousin. I have a cousin who's gay, and maybe someone else. I don't remember. I don't really categorize people in that way because I'm so progressive and enlightened, Daniel. But yeah, I mean, it's there's at least a couple of people who are part of the LGBT community in my family in Argentina, actually. Mike Schaefer says $15 minimum wage House bill for the wall. Good compromise. Sure, but I mean, just it's not going to happen. It's not even one it's a non-starter, to put it lightly. Let's go to the 319 area code. Caller from 319. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Russell. I'm Cedar Rapids area.
Great.
I just curious and wanted to ask, what's your opinion on Tim Pool?
I'm sorry, on who?
Tim Pool. He's a
Oh yeah.
journalist
I've met him before, actually. He was at what was the name of that thing I did in LA? He was at Politicon, and he was actually at one of the events I did. He was in the audience. I don't really watch anything he does. So I saw he did a video with this guy named Carl Benjamin, who goes by Sargon of Akkad on the internet. And in that video, Sargon claimed that I said something like Stalin is a right winger, and Tim Pool laughed or something like that. But otherwise, I don't really see any of his stuff. I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he sends me messages on Facebook sometimes, but I don't really know what he's up to.
I personally think the two of you have a good enough contrast to where some interesting debates could come up if you decided to get on friendly terms.
Oh, we're not on unfriendly terms. I don't really watch anything, so I don't know what he's putting out there,
He's a bit more to the right of you.
Yes, I'm aware of that. That piece I'm aware of from his from the conversations I've had with him. Okay, thanks very much. Appreciate the call. Good to hear from you. Thanks to Tom Interval for the $5 super chat. Let's go to the 313 area code. Caller from 313. And before you jump in, 313, let me thank Jamie Sprague, who has signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. Really appreciate that. Okay, 313, you're on the air.
Hi, David. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, my name's Tony. I'm calling from Michigan.
Okay.
Sorry. I have a question, but first I have to preface it with another question about your political affiliation.
Okay.
Are are you a social democrat or in any way agreeing with that faction?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a democratic socialist. So yeah, I consider myself an advocate of social democracy.
Okay. So I like to agree with you on that sort of front, but as a lover of politics, I like to get my classmates and friends engaged politically. However, when I say I'm a social democrat, most of my peers automatically assume that I am the negative connotation of a socialist.
Mm.
How do I convince these people that my values are rational and somewhat popular?
So there's a couple different approaches. It depends who you're talking to. I mean, big picture, there is a lot of confusion between social democracy and democratic socialism, particularly when you see elected officials calling themselves democratic socialists, but then only advocating for social democracy in terms of the policies. So if we could get that sorted out, that would be kind of like the best thing. But you can avoid the term social democrat altogether because remember, a social democrat wants a mixed economy. It's a capitalist economy, but it's a well-regulated one where there is significant social welfare apparatus there to create. We're basically saying we're going to have inequality and we're going to have sort of a sorting that takes place based on people's skills and effort and desires and all of this different stuff. But you shouldn't be punished for that. We're going to kind of set the floor so that you're not going to be punished for not being super successful in business or being able to get an advanced education and therefore a good job. So I think that one approach is you don't even have to say you're a social democrat. You can say you are for well-regulated capitalism, and then you just give examples, and maybe that would avoid some of those negative connotations.
Right. I have another question if there's time, but if
Sure.
not, that's fine.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, so I like to talk to my peers about politics and that kind of stuff. However, when I get into a deep conversation with them, I find that a lot of them are turned off and they don't really care about politics as much as I do.
Mm.
Is there any sort of advice or tips you could give to someone like me who wants to get their peers more engaged politically?
Well, how do you even get into a deep conversation if they don't care?
Well, I sort of just try to assess what kind of political party they agree with or what values they have.
Yeah.
And most of the time, they don't really know what they're talking about, or they don't really understand where I'm coming from.
Sure.
So I just want to sort of enlighten them on how the political realm works.
I mean, I think that the best way, so this is kind of like for people who just say, I'm not really into politics, ask them what they do care about. This came up during live calls recently. Ask them what they do care about, and they'll often say something that is actually very much related to politics. They might just not understand how, and then explain to them how that's related to politics, even if they don't see it and why it matters.
All right.
Okay, good. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Great questions. Hayden Barolette asks via Super Chat, have you watched Destiny, the Political's Twitch streamer? Not only have I watched him, he's been on my channel at least twice, and we might do something maybe sometime in the future. Yeah, I like him a lot. Carlos Gonzalez with a $2 Super Chat. Izanagi with a $2 Super Chat. Thank you for your hard work. It means a lot. Dave with a $5 Super Chat. What obstacles does AOC face that has you the most worried about a potential decrease of her political influence? What should we be looking out for? She just needs to get as informed as possible, as quickly as possible, because the spotlight is on her. Fox News is obsessed with her. She's getting attention. She's doing a lot of great things. She needs to be, whether fairly or unfairly, what she says is going to be scrutinized for accuracy. And so she needs to get as informed as possible about the issues she's discussing. Azuras says, David, can you tell me you love me? Love you. Hope that was good for you. Gloria Stendardi is a new David Pakman Show member. Thank you very much. And I will go to the 502 area code for our next live call.
Hey, what's going on, David?
Hey, how you doing?
So I called yesterday about this Scott from Kentucky. I forgot to ask this question that I probably should have before. It's slightly non-political / kind of political in a sense kind of way. Do you think it's time for the progressive left to join PewDiePie in the fight against T-Series?
I don't know what anything like that is. So let's see if we can break it down. PewDiePie, I know, is just a big YouTube streamer who's had a bunch of controversies where, didn't he have both a swastika and an N-word incident recently?
Well, there's like Vox Media and the Wall Street Journal, they're publishing articles about him because one time recently he played this online video game with with a bunch of random streamers, and one of them happened to have usernames that had hidden Nazi references, and then that he was unaware of until they did a bunch of digging and found it, and then he shouted out a channel
I
once
think it's a little
recently
more
that
than that. I think it's a little more than that. But what's T
well, he
series?
said
What does that mean?
T Series is this Indian music production company, and so there's sort of a populist movement going on right now. All these guys subscribe to PewDiePie, putting up billboards. This guy spent $1 million on a billboard in Times Square, and Mr. Beast, he was putting up billboards and going on radio shows.
And who's
And all
Mr.
these
Pasty?
YouTube
Who's Mr. Pasty?
Mr. Beast.
Mr.
All of
Beast.
these particular. It's mainly been like right wing, and moderates and video and gamers that have been joining it, but. I think it would be incredibly ironic, if the left and the people and maybe not the far left that label him as a Nazi and such, out of context, but the left, the secular and reasonable progressives, join the fight and support him.
Listen, I don't know about any of this
the,
stuff. I couldn't tell you whether you're even characterizing any of it accurately, so I couldn't tell you anything about PewDiePie or
okay.
T Series or anything like that.
Let me put it down this way. YouTube is, have sort of been nurtured by the individual creators for 15 years. And recently it's become a lot more corporate, with demonetization and censorship and the adpocalypse and all this and that. And they've been pushing really corporate stuff to the trending page and, silencing, certain bunch of channels. And, PewDiePie has sort of led this movement that, it's like there's one guy, that's been making YouTube videos on his own, gaming versus the corporate faceless machine, that's sort of taking over. And
it's still not for me. I couldn't tell you. I don't know anything about it. I appreciate the call. I got to get to some other people. That's just out of my area of expertise. Okay. Stun Ever says, love the show. If we give this clown any more money for the wall, he will shut down the government or worse again every time he doesn't get his way. Absolutely. You can't let him see government shutdowns as a way to get stuff. Absolutely. Tom Interval says, hey, David, I'm one of the new January members. Love your show. According to your Instagram account, you're a drummer. What's the origin of your interest? Are you good, and do you ever play publicly? The origin of my interest is I just got into drumming when I was 19. I'm not very good. I mean, listen, I've been playing for a long time, but I'm not I'm not Steve Gadd, And do I play publicly? I've played in a bunch of bands and we've had public gigs. I'm not in a band right now. So right now there's no place that you could see me play publicly. Kimmy says, what's your view of NATO and U.S. defense of Europe? I support U.S. membership in NATO. Mike Schaefer says, Ojeda's charisma as vice president make up for Warren's lack of? I interviewed Richard Ojeda. He didn't strike me as particularly charismatic, so I'm not sure about that. Redners11 says, is the shutdown a way to delay or avoid the Michael Cohen hearing? Think about it, or maybe Cohen never really intended to testify. If Cohen never intended to testify, the shutdown's irrelevant. Even with the shutdown, Cohen still could have testified in 2 weeks. So no, I don't think so. Azuras says, David, after pooping, do you sit or stand to wipe? Extraordinary question and very, very weird. Okay, let's go to our caller from the 910 area code. Thank you very much.
Hey, David, how's it going? This is Daniel. I'm calling from North Carolina.
Go ahead, Daniel.
I just wanted to preface the question I wanted to ask you with this comment about a guest that you had on your show recently. A couple of weeks ago, you had tweeted that you were going to have Scott Adams on your show.
Right.
And you asked what you wanted to have us ask him. And I replied with this question I'm about to ask you. And I'm not expecting you to condone this attack on that insecure coward Scott Adams, but he called me brainwashed for some reason for asking a legitimate question I'm about to ask. So basically, my question was, I'm assuming that the economy is going to tank this year, big time.
Okay.
And I was asking whether he thought that if the economy tanks, if we have shrinking GDP and rising unemployment, whether Trump can effectively convince his base and supporters that it's all just a bunch of fake news and bullcrap. And I was basically saying that I believe that he'll be essentially just denying straight up facts like the Fed saying that the GDP is growing when in fact it's just factually not. And that this won't be much of an issue for him if he still chooses to campaign, if he still makes it to the 2020 campaign. But I was just wondering if you thought that Trump would be able to convince his supporters in that same way if that happens.
Yeah, probably. I mean, his supporters don't care about the facts. And as long as he gives them something they can repeat, they're going to vote for him. And this is why the 2020 election cannot and will not come down to what message gets to Trump's base. It's going to come down to other people getting out and voting.
Okay. Yeah, I just think that MAGA hat is like a freaking it's like a mind wash machine at this point. I mean,
Yep.
Those
It
people
really
just
is.
don't care about facts at all.
It really is.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the call. Okay, I appreciate it. That's going to do it for today's stream. I got to run. Thanks to everybody who joined me. We'll have a new show tomorrow. Use that coupon code 2019. It'll give you a $60 membership for only $20.19 for the year. That's a good deal. That's like a penny and a half for each video that we do.